right, we're back. Welcome to Anything But Ordinary with your hosts, Spooky and Raven. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the Queen Mary and Alcatraz Prison. Our guest caller will be Laces Out. He's going to share his own personal photos and experiences with us. And I'm your host, Spooky, and here is Raven.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Yeah, I heard a little that you were in a little bit of pain though, 'cause your foot.
Yeah, I got stepped on today by an animal, so I got a broken bone in my foot. So I'm going to be, that's right, people, I'm going to be going through this whole thing with no pain medication.
So it'll be good. Just,
I
I'm
Go ahead.
excited. I'm excited for tonight's show and what our guest caller has to say. He had a lot of interesting things to share with us, so it's gonna be fun.
Yes, he does, and it was really, even though we had some technical issues the last time he was on, it was a really good show the last time. And I'm going to introduce our guest caller right now, Laces Out. How you doing, Laces?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing? How are you
Oh,
doing, Raven?
Good, thank you.
It's good to be back on the show again.
well, it's good to have you back. We're going to. I understand that on your trip you went to Alcatraz and the Queen Mary, so hopefully you got some good stories to tell us tonight.
Yeah, the Alcatraz, it was just like it was before. I mean, it was creepy as,
Always.
yeah,
Always.
creepy as always.
Right.
Um,
Uh, okay, I'm gonna give a short history before we get into your trip there. I'm gonna give a short history of Alcatraz. I found it interesting that Native Americans kept away from Alcatraz Island. They called it the Evil Island, believing it was cursed. The first Spaniard to document the island was Juan Manuel de Ayala. I know I ripped the crap out of that name in 1775, and it was also known as, well, the name actually translated into Pelican Island because of the large colony of pelicans that used to inhabit the island. The earliest recorded owner is Julian Workman, and it was given to him by the Mexican governor Pio Pico in 1846 with the understanding that Workman would build a lighthouse on it. Now, he never actually built the lighthouse, someone else built it, but the lighthouse on Alcatraz Island is the oldest working lighthouse in on the West Coast. Later in 1846, it was bought by John C. Fremont for $5,000. And in 1850, President Millard Fillmore ordered it to be used specifically as a military reservation. Now, in 1858, it became a military fort, and in 1861, it was used to house Confederate prisoners during the Civil War. But at the time, they didn't have jail cells, so they were kept in the basement under the guardhouse. And then in 1867, a brick jail was built. In 1868, it was officially designated a long term facility for military prisoners. It was also used during World War II for POWs until 1946. In 1933, it was transferred to the Bureau of Prisons and became a federal prison from 1933 to 1963. During World War I, it held conscientious objectors, and for anybody that don't know what they are, those were people who refused to be drafted into the military.
hmm.
Um, and from 1933 to 1963, it held some of the country's most notorious and hardened criminals: Pretty Boy Floyd, Doc Barker, Al Capone. And during the 29 years, it claimed no prisoner ever escaped successfully, although that fact is disputed. 36 prisoners made 14 attempts. Two men tried twice. 23 were caught. Six were shot. Two drowned. Five were listed as missing, presumed drowned. And in 1963, it closed because years of salt water dilapidated the building and the prison just became obsolete. And in 1963, not far from where I live, they opened the prison at Marion, Illinois, and it replaced Alcatraz. So, how was your trip?
It was it was pretty interesting. The last time we went during the day, but this time we went uh, at nighttime, which was even more interesting because when we got on the boat, you know, when you get on the ferry, the boat, they tell you a little bit about, they go over a little bit about the history of the place, and you know, at this time we went, it was like covered in fog, which I thought was kind of creepy, like you know, something that you see in a movie or something. But they were talking about the history of the place, and they said it was like one of the reasons why they shut the prison down is because the water tower would hold like 300,000 gallons of water that they need to have to uh,
Supply.
yeah, had to resupply it like every 3 days. So that got to be
That would be a
kind of a
chore.
pain.
Well,
I would hate to
yeah.
be that person who had to do that work.
Oh, me too. I would have hated to have to do that, but I can understand why that would be one of the reasons why they would close it down.
Yeah,
But if you stop and think about it, all the supplies out there had to be boated in. I mean, it wasn't running out to the grocery store. Everything had to be shipped in, including
yeah.
their water.
Whoops, we got kicked. Wrong photo. But keep going.
Um, yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but they had like a prison riot back in the 1940s. Um, I don't think I sent you the picture. I don't remember, but somebody in the prison made like a bar spreader back in the, I think it was the 40s. He tried to escape, and he let a bunch of prisoners loose, and that took like several days, maybe weeks, to get that under control. So they had to call in, I think, the U.S. Army. So they had to get on top of the prison to. They dropped grenades and stuff. I don't really know how they got that under control, but they said they eventually did. A lot of
Well,
people were killed in that prison riot.
oh, I don't doubt it. I think if I remember right, I paraphrased the history of Alcatraz because I'll tell you, it does have a very long and interesting and actually deadly history.
Yeah.
And I think if I remember right, I read where when the prisoners rioted or tried to escape, the guards had orders to shoot to kill.
Well, I don't doubt
Well, I
that.
remember I remember reading about Doc Barker. That was one of Ma Barker's boys, and I remember reading. Of course, now I read her autobiography that she told, so that was only her side. But I do kind of believe it. Back in those days, they didn't have like the Miranda rights and stuff like they do now. Well, they probably had the Miranda rights, but civil rights were constantly
Mm.
violated. But she said that he made a go for the fence, and when he hit the fence, he was shot.
Huh.
So there are a lot of deaths associated with Alcatraz. Whitey Thompson, I saw him on TV a few times. He passed away a couple years ago, but he was one of the prisoners there. And then he later became one of the tour guides. And he told about that he would sit in his cell and he could hear voices. Everything would be quiet, but he would see shadows in his cell and he would hear voices and they would talk to him.
Um, I could have swore that when I looked this up on the Alcatraz up on the online, I know I saw that they had ghost tours for that you could purchase, but when we went there, they acted like we didn't know what we were talking about.
Yeah.
So they don't have ghost tours. Maybe it was in October or something that they did do that, but We just had to uh, walk around on our own to take pictures.
Yeah, they they used to have tours through there. Um, I don't know. I've never been on one of the tours. I just know I read. Um, but if you stop and think about it, though, I mean, the people that they had at Alcatraz, Alcatraz was the last stop.
Yeah.
Alcatraz was for hardened people. Very few people were paroled out of Alcatraz.
It was
So,
harsh.
yeah, it was very, very harsh. The conditions were harsh. The administrators were harsh. The guards were harsh. You had evil there at Alcatraz,
Yeah.
and one of the biggest evils there was the Birdman of Alcatraz, Robert
Huh.
Stroud. Everybody knew him because when he was in Leavenworth, he wrote these books and nursed these sick birds, and he did write some great books on the anatomy and caring for birds and everything. And what people actually forgot was Robert Stroud was a cold-blooded killer, and he was put in an area in Alcatraz where he was mainly in isolation because he would even kill the guards that came to feed him.
Huh.
Well, I mean, come think about it. You're in prison. You're not going
Well,
anywhere
that's
else.
true. I mean, you're in a prison. Nobody's nice.
Huh.
You're
Let's
stuck. You're
face it.
stuck there for.
Nice
Yeah.
people are not sentenced to prison.
Yeah. Well, if it is, it's by accident.
It's just that Alcatraz had the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
So it would not. So it doesn't surprise me that hauntings happen there. Plus, like I said, the Native Americans believed that the place was cursed.
Yeah, I don't know if I told you this before when I was on the show before, but I remember I read up on the ghost stories of that place, which they were pretty interesting. It said a lot of the prisoners said they all saw the same guy walking around outside their cells I guess when the lights were out. I mean, when they had to go to sleep, and the guards would always blow it off like, "Oh, you just go to sleep," you know.
Yeah.
And this one guy, they put him in solitary confinement, which, by the way,
Oh, in
they
the
actually
hole.
locked us in there. They actually locked us in there and shut the door just to let us know what it was like.
Yeah, I think they
Um,
called it the hole back then, though.
Yeah, and
Well, go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't remember his name, but they put him in the solitary, or and he wouldn't go to sleep like all night. He said, "Open up the door because there's somebody else in here with me."
Yeah.
And they just pretty soon he just shut up, and they opened it up the next morning. He was dead because somebody had strangled him. So
Was
they
that
just
the one that they talk about in cell 14D? You know, where
I don't know.
because there was somebody else that I read about that in the 40s where he was locked up and he was screaming all night long
That
because he
might have
kept
been
saying
him.
that he kept seeing glowing red eyes.
That might
And
have been him.
that it was
Oh, I
trying to
remember
kill
that.
him.
I
And
remember that.
the guards just kept telling him to, shut up,
Shut
be
up, go to
quiet,
sleep.
and then they found
The
him dead.
solitary confinement cells were in the basement, and
Oh.
they were part of the old fort.
Huh.
But they also
They-
said that they still saw after that man was dead that people claimed that he would, when they did the inmates lineup, that he would still show up as a spirit in the lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read that before. They said there was
Yeah.
like an extra person in the line that they couldn't account for.
But also, there's no light in those cells. Those prisoners were in total darkness.
Yep.
They
The
they were down in the old part that used to be the military fort. That was the only thing left of the old military fort was the basement and the cells down there. And of course, they built the prison over that because they used the foundation from the old fort and they just left the basement. And the prisoners that were put in solitary, they were stripped of their clothing. They were thrown in these dark cells.
Yeah.
And they shut the door on them, and they were in total darkness forever. How long they had to stay there. And if you ever saw the movie Murder in the First, it tells about a guy that was kept in solitary confinement for 3 years.
Jeez.
I would go insane. I mean, I'd go
He
insane.
did go insane. The guy did. Kevin Bacon played the guy, and I
Yeah.
can't remember his name was Henry something, and he he was kept in solitary confinement for 3 years, and he went insane, and he ended up murdering a guard, and it was a guard that all the inmates hated. He was brutal, he was abusive, and when
Hmm.
they took this Henry to court over it, he was found not guilty. And the part of the reason that he was found not guilty was the fact that he was kept in solitary confinement for 3 years, and it drove him crazy.
I would honestly go crazy if I was even in
Huh.
prison in general. Could you imagine just the square, small, tiny
Yeah.
room
Those
that you're in?
cells were
But
pretty
they
small.
used to, I think they used to put like a few people in one room at, at a few times, and I'd probably strangle somebody too. I mean, you mentally go insane there.
Yeah, really.
Because you have like no outside, to trees, to anything. I mean, you literally, and sometimes you barely even get to go out in the yard. You've spent hours in this small 4-room square box that's probably like smaller than your pantry. I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you were lucky enough to work, work was a privilege and not something that you just did, because Alcatraz was there to punish. It wasn't there to rehabilitate you. It wasn't there to teach you a craft or a skill. Alcatraz was built strictly to punish. Did you bring us any good pictures?
From Alcatraz.
Yeah.
I thought I didn't send any, did I?
Yes, I got 3 photos,
I?
but we were kind of gonna show a little bit of it. I mean, because you captured some orb type things, but we were gonna kind of
Yeah.
explain how people could think that these could be spirits just by the 3 successions of those pictures that you had taken. Remember, because like the first one you have up, it was like perfectly clear, and then the next shot that you had taken, it was just completely full of orbs.
The pictures of the orbs and that, it's interesting because that was the area where the prison riot started.
This is the first picture he took. As you can see, I mean, that is a clear picture.
Right, and then I switched
Very
over,
clear.
and then I
I
switched
mean,
over.
you can all the way down to the other light. I mean, you can see that. And then this one, he said, was taken just, what, a second or two later?
Right, and then it's completely full of orbs. And I could see how people could think that, okay, these are all of a sudden they got a bunch of spirit activity, just because he hadn't really
Yeah.
moved, but shifted just barely, and all of a sudden he's got all this dust.
The thing of it is, I don't put too much stock in orbs.
I don't know,
Okay.
because behind me there was like a door that was open, so I don't know if that was just like dust from outside or if that was actually spirit orbs.
I could believe it's dust. I mean, you're on the ocean,
Well,
and
yeah, and
dirty
you're
island.
you're in a place that's what, 100 years that
Yeah, dirt.
that had been in business since what, 1846, and or started to be built on since 1846. So, I mean, this place is basically, at least the basement of it is over 100 years old. You're out in the middle of the ocean. You got wind blowing. You got water coming up and stuff. It's going to stir up the dust. And I'm
not
sorry.
s-
I
not
just see
saying
very
that-
few orbs that I think are spirit or energy orbs.
But we're not saying that everything, if
Right.
you happen to capture a energy orb, that it's not energy, and not everything's always dust either. There's some
Right.
cases that it really is energy, and then if you look
Right.
beyond that energy orb, you happen to start to
Oh,
see something
yeah.
manifest. But like, I thought this was interesting because his
Oh, yeah.
first shot he had completely nothing. Then the next shot it's like totally full of orbs, and then
Well,
his third shot he gets this one perfect singular
Mm-hmm.
orb here. I'm not sure if it's switched picture yet, but
But
I thought
well,
it was
that's
interesting.
what I was going to say. I do find it strange that his first picture was perfect. I mean, a nice,
Clean.
clear,
Yeah.
very clear picture, and then the next picture, wham, all these orbs. and then the next picture, what, one orb. But when I do see orbs that I believe are energy or think are spirit orbs, I don't look at the orb. I look around the orb because whatever is causing it is either manifesting or or you can or it's putting out, it's doing something to put out the energy for these orbs.
Right, but I could see how if you look at these three different, photos, and I'll click on the first one again, how it's completely perfect, clean, and then 2 seconds later,
Right.
he clicks again,
Oh,
and
exactly. Yeah.
then he gets a ton of them. I can see how people could.
And in the very next picture, they're all gone except for this one.
Well, but he moved down another hall, but it's still the same set area. But I can see how people could get confused and say, oh yeah, this one is like got millions of spirits in it. I could see how people could, get confused thinking that all dust orbs are spirits. But I'm not saying
Right.
that there isn't energy orbs that do happen to appear, because there are, and I've seen that even in person in front of my face without a camera. I've seen energy orbs zip by, from white to blue to completely black, and then after that I've seen,
Right.
apparitions. So
Right.
there are energy orbs. I totally believe that you can capture an energy orb, but
Oh,
I
I
think
do
people
too. I do
focus too
believe
much
that.
on the orb when they should look beyond that, and that's when they'll see
Well,
an entity.
and I'm not okay. I'm not criticizing anybody for doing this.
Oh
Okay.
no, we're all
But
learning.
there are some people that every time that they see orbs like these, because some of those are bright, I can see where, and there are a couple of them you can see that are moving, but some people just get caught up on orbs, and I just don't think that orbs are proof of paranormal activity.
No, well, but there's energy orbs that is true, but I think that they're using the area and absorbing the energy, trying to manifest themselves. So a
Right.
lot of people get stuck on looking at a perfect energy orb, and then they miss out looking throughout the rest of the picture, and they totally miss sometimes a full blown uh, shadow entity or spirit, and then they chuck it. Or some people are like, oh, it's a dust, I'm deleting it right away, because they're focused on the little orb, and then they miss
Yeah.
everything else that's in the background.
Well, that's true too. They'll focus on that orb and they'll miss the ones that are energy orbs. They'll focus on the orb and they'll miss the partial or the apparition or whatever is around it, because that's what I do. I don't focus on that orb. I start when I see one that I know and I sense is an energy orb, I start looking past it because something is causing it, and you I don't know about anybody else, but I have to start looking to see if I can find what is causing it.
Right, and I've seen some. Well, he's got some amazing photos tonight too. When we get to the
Yeah, he
Queen
does.
Mary, I was just like, oh, because I'm like, well, why don't you just send it to me, and I'll just look at them, because he said he hadn't had a chance to really go through them all yet. The first one he sent me, I was, oh my gosh, my mouth just dropped. I'm like,
Did
oh
it
my,
really?
well, yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
that
practically,
one, as soon
yeah,
as it come up, I saw it. As soon as it come up, I saw it and I said, "Oh my gosh.
She said, "OMG."
yeah,
O
totally.
M
So,
O M G.
so
Wait,
when we
do
get to
you
that,
see what I'm looking at?" And she said, "Yes, I do." It
no, I pointed it to you first, but anyway, we're staying on Alcatraz. Don't get to Queen Mary yet, but I
Okay.
find I think it's interesting that this one is, just floating by itself though. His last picture, where it's just,
yeah.
you go from a totally clean prison shot, then 2 seconds later he's got filled of dust orbs, and then the third shot he's just got one perfect round circular orb. Now, when
Now,
you were in there, did you guys pick up any EVPs? Did you hear any sounds? Did you feel any strange experiences? And now you said you went there this time at night. I mean,
Yeah.
what
We
kind of
stayed
things
until
did
we
you
had
guys
to.
feel?
We stayed until we had to leave because it closes like at 9:30, and that's when everybody has to leave.
yeah.
Um, what did I feel? Um, I didn't.
Yeah.
What? I just
No, I'm
uh,
sorry. I had that stupid happy song bust through my head.
it just I just felt like I walked into well, I don't know how to describe it. It was like walking into evil. I don't
Oh.
really know how to
Did,
describe the feeling.
could you feel the energy? Was it stifling? Was it thick?
What
I
what
mean,
what section were you walking through that you think that you had felt a negative
When I
vibe
first
right
went
away?
there, it was like my spirit guide or something was gonna go ahead and wait outside until I got back.
He's like, screw this, I'm not going.
so
Yeah,
it's just walking in the front door. I've been
yeah,
to places like that where I just walked into the place and it was just the air was just so thick
yeah,
and it just I mean it would make the hair on my arm stand up because I just knew the place was loaded with evil.
Was it Walmart?
Yeah,
yeah. It was Walmart. It
it
was
was Walmart.
Arby's. It was Arby's.
Ugh, yeah. No, I think it's strange though. I mean,
Actually, it was my last family reunion.
yeah. But the thing is, it's kind of bummer because you had forgot your original digital recorder and you had
Yeah,
to pick one up on the road.
sucks.
And the one that you had grabbed doesn't have a USB cord with it, so you have to
Yeah,
go buy a special cord to try to get the EVPs uploaded. Now, he did get some EVPs from the Queen Mary, but we can't play it tonight because he noticed his recorder doesn't have a USB plug-in
yeah.
thing.
If I
So
would have remembered my other one, I probably would have been able to upload it to you sooner.
instantly,
Sooner.
yeah. But
Yeah.
we'll have those when he does get it up. We will have the EVPs up in Spooky's Corner, so you guys will be able to check it out then and listen. And we'll also post some of the photos in group tonight, so that you can go and click on it, enlarge it, and zoom in on the ones from the Queen Mary.
I don't know
They're
why I
on.
didn't think of that. I looked at it, but I just didn't think to put that in my bag, computer
Hey,
bag.
I've done that. So, but like she said, when you get it up, then
Post it in
we'll
our
post it.
keep it clean. We'll post it in
Okay.
our group in
Okay.
Spooky's Corner. Now, when you were walking around, did you like see anything s- strange, or did you pick up any strange experiences while you were in there besides just having that feeling?
Um, uh, I didn't really see anything, but I'm gonna have to look at the pictures again just to see if I might have missed something. Got a lot of orbs and stuff, but I did record it on my digital recorder, but I haven't had time to listen to it with stuff going on. I mean, I saw the basement, but you weren't allowed to go down there, so I did put my tape recorder next to that basement area and asked a couple questions, but I don't know. I'll have to listen to it when I get
So they
time.
kind of leave you people to
Roam
yourselves.
free.
You just kind of get to wander around this place
Yeah, yeah, you
all
can
by
do.
yourself. They don't have tour guides anymore.
No, it's like an audio tour. They give you the little headphones, and it's like a satellite thing,
Yeah.
and you can just do whatever. And since we were
I
there
would like
once
to go on
already,
a tour like that. Yeah.
since we were there already, we were just gonna walk around and take pictures.
Yeah.
When
Well,
you go at night, I mean, how many people do you think is it like really packed as far as the tour stuff goes, or
Um, I'm not sure how many people were there. I mean, the ferry comes back and forth like every 20 minutes, I think, 10 minutes. So uh,
but how many people were like?
so there's
at
actually
nighttime, you think?
people constantly coming to this island and leaving. So it's kind of
yeah,
a
you can go there like at 6 o'clock.
how long did it take to go from the mainland to the island?
It took like 10 minutes,
Oh, that's not too bad.
at least 10 minutes. Yeah.
I've been over the Golden Gate Bridge several times and have seen Alcatraz Island, but I've never really had the opportunity to go there. It's on my bucket list.
Oh, yeah, you could go to this island like say at 6 o'clock at night, and you could stay until the last boat leaves, which is 9:30 at night. So that's what we did. We walked around and took pictures, and you get to stand in some of the cells because some of them are
Yeah.
opened up, and some of the stuff is blocked off. The last time I went, I actually took my recorder, but the only thing I caught was like a rifle.
A rifle? A
Yeah,
sound of a rifle going off?
the sound of yeah. I know nobody was shooting guns off when we were there the last time, because
That had to have been something that was residual from the riot.
yeah, but this was like outside though. But I know what it was because I heard the sound before.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
But
so you knew it was the sound of a rifle because you've heard
yeah,
rifles go off. That's what you're saying.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
understand. I was clarifying for our listeners. So, the first time you went there, you never really saw anything, but you did catch an EVP where you had a
Oh
rifle
yeah,
sound go off.
I did get another EVP when I was there. I forgot. It was like that. What's that noise before the doors shut? There's nothing electronic there, so
You mean the
it's that.
clanking of the bars and the
No, it's that. It's like the siren or whatever. Like um, well, whatever that is. I got that on EVP because I know that wasn't. They don't have anything
Oh,
electronic there.
didn't they ring a bell or a buzzer or
a
something?
Yeah,
bullhorn or something?
something like that.
To warn that the doors were going to close and lock?
Something like that.
Because later on the doors were automatic. They all closed at the same time. They all opened at the same time when it was
Yeah.
time to let them all out. And then when it was time for lockdown for the night, they um
Blew a sound.
but that was later on, because
Yeah.
earlier though each door was operated by a lever or something. They had to close each door separately,
Manually, yeah.
manually. Yeah. But I think, as a matter of fact, for years, cells like that in prisons were like that. The doors, they were electronically closed, and they used to sound this alarm to let them know that the doors were going to close, so they would be clear of the doors, so they wouldn't get caught in them.
These
Because some
doors were not
prisoners,
electronic.
yeah.
Well,
So
they say, I guess, constantly what people always say is that they always hear screaming and
Mm.
moaning and crying all the time in the prison and stuff. Did you hear anything like that when you were there?
No, but I still need to listen to that audio. I mean, I haven't had time to do that, but and if I do, I'll sure to let you know.
And share it with the group in our Spookies Corner so everybody can check it
Yeah.
out. Like, yeah, that's a bummer that you can get found out at the end, at the last minute, that you can upload those onto your computer. I mean, who makes a digital recorder nowadays that you can't
I have
even
no
plug into
idea.
your computer? That makes no sense.
and I bought a new digital recorder, and actually I was surprised to find that it had a little thing on it that you push, a little slide on it. And I thought, of course, wonder what this is for. And I slid it, and it was a USB port or plug where I could just plug it directly. And, and all this time I thought, how am I going to get these EVPs off this doggone off of this doggone recorder? Duh. I should have read the owner's manual.
I read the manual to this recorder, and it didn't say
Squat.
anything.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
we
didn't
had to
say
look it up
anything
on the
about
internet.
that.
Yeah, me and him were he was sharing the photos with me while we were on Skype so I could get ready for the show, and then I looked it up on the browser. It was a Sony brand anyway, and you had to buy like a 3.5 millimeter double male end just to plug it in one earpiece and plug it into the other piece into the computer, and then you transfer it that way. Talk about
Yeah.
backwards.
Yeah, the other one I got is easier because you can take it apart, and it's like a USB.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
just another way to make so you spend more money. Now you got to run out and
Yeah.
buy a cord so you can download that to your computer.
So, well, also, so basically at Alcatraz, you didn't really feel too much or experience too much this time around, except for you just felt weird when you stepped in there. That's all.
And yeah, that was like the first time I went, but this time it was,
Completely different.
yeah,
More feelings than anything else.
it's just kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It's like walking, you walk into a bad neighborhood, and you're going to
Yeah.
get stabbed and have your wallet stolen. That's what it felt like.
Then you stay out of those neighborhoods.
I do. I don't know. That was the feeling I had when I first went there.
So
It's
almost
almost like my spirit.
they left.
My spirit guide said, "I'm staying out
Yeah,
here while you."
Well, I can, excuse me, I can understand that. I mean, the energy that was there. There were a lot of deaths there. There were, there were prisoners killing prisoners. There were prisoners dying from escaping. guards were killing prisoners. There was that big riot there.
Well, imagine how
A
much
lot of them
hate
got
these
killed.
people have, and they're murderers. They're, hardcore
Yeah, they're murderers. They're
criminals.
rapists. They're bank
So they
robbers.
have
They're
negative energy on them. They probably have negative
right,
attachments or possession. So I can imagine the leftover uh, energy and spirits that are still hanging out there. I could see
right.
new people walking in. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna jack him."
Yeah, and who knows what kind of spirits were there before? I mean, it was a military prison. It they that's where they kept Confederate prisoners during World War II. They shipped POWs there, and it just
Well, it
I
didn't
mean,
turn
you don't know
into
how many deaths actually
occurred.
occurred
Or
here.
yeah,
Thousands of them.
right. Or how many people died? The inmates that were building the army military inmates that were building the prison in the beginning, how they were
Right.
treated or how it went. But didn't it become a maximum prison when, like, in the 30s?
Yeah,
That's how
that's
it
it.
switched.
1933, it
1930.
was, yeah, 1933, it was transferred to the Bureau of Prisons, and that's when it became a federal prison from 1933 to 1963.
Sorry, my cat made his 15 seconds of fame again.
I heard him.
Every show we've ever done since day one, this cat is always walked up after we've been going for like 30 minutes and comes and does this meow, and then he turns around and walks out. I don't know why, but he wants to be famous on YouTube. So
I did get one EVP at Alcatraz the last time we went, or the first time we went. I forgot. I was actually alone in that section where the warden's office used to be. Somebody said I was born to kill.
whoa.
That
Wow.
was like the only thing. That's like the only EVP that I was sure of. Somebody whispered I was born to kill.
I'm
Wow.
sure some people feel that way, the ones that are in prison. There's some people who literally feel like that's why they came to this planet.
Well, it's like I said, Alcatraz was the last stop. That was for, it started out to be the most hardened and dangerous criminals. But people like, okay, Frank Morse. He
Yep.
is the only man to have ever escaped from Alcatraz. A lot of people, and the official record says that he drowned, but personally, I think he made it.
He
But the
survived.
reason he was sent to Alcatraz is because every other prison he was in, he escaped. So they sent him to Alcatraz because Alcatraz was deemed unescapable.
Huh.
But
But we know that
Morse
wasn't.
got out.
Yeah, we know that was proven wrong. So
Yeah. Exactly.
now we did forget to mention something. He also went to the cemetery too, Spooky, and we forgot to
Oh,
talk about that and throw it in for the show postings because he was gonna bring that up too. Remember?
The cemetery.
Mm-hmm. And when he was in California, what was it called? The Woodland or what did you say?
crap.
Westwood.
No swearing.
I looked it up. It was Westwood.
I said crap.
Westwood.
Yeah.
Westwood. I think it was Westwood Village Memorial Park.
Yeah.
I think that was it.
Anything happened there? Marilyn Monroe is buried.
That's
Yeah.
where a few
yeah.
famous people are buried.
Yeah.
A lot
quite
of famous people were buried. I recorded some stuff there, but I didn't get time to listen to it. Got a lot of pictures, but I didn't really see anything that obvious as a spirit orbs or ghosts or anything like that.
Now, what do they talk about as far as why people are attracted to go there? I mean, are people seeing things there at night in general when they're
Yeah.
walking by? I mean, can you give us, our listeners and me, a little tidbit on why you went there and the experiences that people do have there?
I heard a long time ago that people would take pictures of Marilyn Monroe's grave and actually see her apparition in the picture. Whether or not that was actually something real or faked, I don't know, but I've heard that for years. You could
I heard
clearly
that
see her.
once. I read that somewhere.
Now, is the place like wide open and clear and clean, or is there like a lot of shrubbery and trees and stuff where if people go there at night, they could probably mistake?
Oh, you can't go there at
something?
night.
No,
You
but I
can't
meant
go
if they're
there.
walking by. things don't. There's still people who get into cemeteries
That
at
that's
night. That
kind of
doesn't
like
stop
that's
them,
kind of
but-
like a gated community, isn't that the one
Yeah.
where you stop at a place and they give you a map of where all the stars are buried?
I looked for a map to that place, and nobody had one. So I just found something online like last week. It showed where some of the more famous people were buried. Yeah.
I can't remember all who. I know the place. The place is famous because a lot of celebrities are buried there,
Yeah.
but it's most famous because that's where Marilyn Monroe is buried. And Marilyn Monroe's legend just does not die.
So
Nope.
basically, the reason why people like to go to the cemetery, besides the famous people, but because they believe that Marilyn Monroe's spirit also hangs out there as well as the
Yeah.
hotel she died in. So, but
Yeah.
there's no other spiritual activity or things that have happened or seen there. Otherwise, when it comes to paranormal, it's just her.
Well, that's the only thing I've really heard of. I really haven't gone online to look to see, to look up the ghost stories. I know I looked it up before. I think it was Haunted History that talked about it. I don't really remember what all they were.
I think there were several
Talking about-
apparitions that were seen there of famous people, but it seems
think it
like
was-
that. Yeah, it seems like the most. But Marilyn Monroe's apparition seems to show up in several places, so that apparition is really, really busy.
Yep, I'm holding back a comment. But yeah, I just, me and my humor, I had to hold it back there. I almost busted out.
Oh, don't hold it back.
But so you went. So basically, you kind of went there just to see the famous graves. You didn't kind of go there to experience any real paranormal, or you
Yeah.
wanted to kind of do both. You wanted to see if you could pick up EVPs and photos because
Yeah.
you heard it had paranormal activity there at times.
Yeah, wanted to go there to do both, but when you go there, it's really hard to find because it's like in the middle of Beverly Hills, and if you don't have a map or GPS, you'll probably never find it because it's like in between some buildings, and you can't just drive by and see it. It's a small cemetery.
So it's like hidden behind a bunch of large buildings, and it's kind
Yeah.
of.
Well, it's a
almost
private
couldn't find it.
cemetery, and it's not one that you can go into after dark. Don't they close the gates or something at a
Yeah.
certain time? And
Yeah.
they have guards that go through there to make sure everybody's gone. A lot of those cemeteries out there that that have celebrities buried there, a lot of them they hand out maps to the stars as graves. There's one town just outside of San Francisco. I cannot remember the name of it. I want to call it Corona or something like that. That 75% of the town is a cemetery. And there are a lot of famous people buried in it, but people just seem that I don't think that people go to those cemeteries for paranormal activity. Maybe in the case of Marilyn Monroe, I think they just go there to see to say, hey, I saw Marilyn Monroe's grave. I saw William Holden's grave. Three Stooges, whoever.
Hugh Hefner was supposed to be buried next to her. I heard.
When
He
he
bought
passes on.
Yeah,
Well-
I heard he bought the plot next to her.
The crypt right next to her
Yeah.
sold for something like $8 million.
Psh,
Can you imagine paying
crazy.
$8 million
just
for
to
a
lay your
place-
bones.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Just to lay there and decompose?
Yeah. That's stupid.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. Can you imagine going to a party? Hey, I paid $8 million so I could decompose next to Marilyn Monroe's bones.
It's not like you can know about it.
Who owns that cemetery anyway? Does Hollywood get all the money then that's purchased, or is it privately owned by some man who got?
I think it's a privately owned cemetery.
So this privately owned company just made $8 million just so somebody could go lay by her bones
I
if
don't
they're
know.
really buried there in the first place. Sometimes they put them there and say that they're there, and they could be totally moved to somewhere else. Since people love to
I watched
graves
this
and stuff.
documentary on people who buy graves, and there was people buying graves out at, I think it was Hollywood Forever Cemetery.
Yeah, I was there
And-
a long time ago because I
Yeah.
thought she was buried there, but I was mistaken.
Well, there are a lot of stars buried there, but they would find a place where, that was available, and they would say, oh no, this is next to, I don't know, Buster Crab, whoever. I don't want to be next to him. What does it matter when you're
Yeah.
dead? They would lay, they want it underneath the tree. That tree's not going to give you any shade when you're 6 feet under the ground. I couldn't understand people like that. They just have to pick out the perfect place.
You know,
Don't
Maybe
be in
it's
the
not so
backyard.
much for them. Maybe it's for their family members who come and visit them, that they want them to have a nice place where they just sit and relax. Because back in the day, if you remember, way back in the day, people would come on the weekends, like Sundays or whatever,
Oh yeah,
and come
cemeteries
and
were
have
like a walk in the
picnics.
park.
They would
Oh
have
yeah.
picnics on their family members' graves and reminisce, and it was it's completely normal. It was their way of, just grieving and remembering this person and honor, and that's why they wanted to have good places with an apple tree or a bench here or whatever,
Well,
because
back
they were
back
still
in the
spending time.
yeah, back in the
It
late
was normal.
1800s. Yeah, back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, cemeteries were laid out like parks. People would go there on weekends, and they'd spend the day in the cemetery. It was like being out in the park for the day. They'd even have little picnics and stuff right in the cemetery. There's one in Denver, Colorado, that it's the oldest cemetery there. It was laid out as a park,
huh?
sidewalks and the whole bit. People went out there, had little picnics and whatever.
Maybe
Go
they should
visit
start
grandma
selling.
and sit there and
Maybe
eat.
Could you see people trying to do that nowadays? They'd probably get harassed by the cops telling them,
They'd
get
be
out.
arrested.
Yeah.
People
maybe they
think
should
they were
They'd
sell.
be
nuts.
like, you're loitering in the graveyard, and be like, I'm spending quality time with my family member.
They should
Yeah,
start selling cotton candy or hot dogs.
They
yeah.
probably did back in the
Well, they
day.
did. They used to have vendors in
Right.
those cemeteries because, like I said, it was like a day in the park.
Maybe a petting zoo.
The
Well,
entire
no.
family would go.
But see, that was normal for back then. Nowadays, you're lucky if anybody goes and visits their loved ones. I mean, they do in the beginning, but after that, they
People
just
don't
don't.
do that nowadays. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are people that go to the cemetery to visit the graves of their loved ones, but nowadays you find people in the cemetery, like after dark.
Well, because they're looking
They're
for.
out there hoping to see a ghost, and then when they do, they pee their pants and run.
Well, the thing is it's scary to go into the cemetery at night because any transient or homeless person knows the safest place at night to go to is to bed down in a graveyard, because you don't have
Right.
to worry too much about getting jacked or
Um,
harassed when you're on the streets and stuff. That's why they'll sneak in later at night, find a good spot to sleep. Well, then you got all these ghost hunters running around in there, and then they're like, oh my gosh, and they could run into a transient who's not a very pleasant person,
yeah.
Right. Well, that's like the
So you have to be careful,
cemetery
people.
in New Orleans, with all those crypts and everything. They tell people not to go in there after dark because there are robbers in there.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny you should mention that because I was with Ghost Getter
Mhm.
several years ago in the cemetery,
Mhm.
ghost hunting, and we all stopped because we heard this noise. Like, we
Rustling.
thought for sure somebody digging a hole. It's late at night, so we all stopped, and we were relieved because somebody out there. I don't know how they did it, but they turned their whole grave into like a cave. It was like a waterfall. That's what that was.
Wow. You mean
We
We thought
Wow.
it
really,
was somebody
a
digging.
family or somebody really paid a lot of good money into it
Yeah.
to build up a waterfall with flowers and
Yeah,
nice
I don't know how they
serene
did that.
space. Well, they paid a lot of money.
Well, that would have been,
Had
yeah.
someone come in
They
and
paid a
built
lot
it.
of money,
That
and they
person
bought
Yeah.
was
more than
loved.
just one plot. They had to buy several plots to do that.
Right.
But
That's a
that
lot of
sounds,
money.
yeah, that sounds awesome.
That'd be kind
But
of
some people do
interesting to
that.
see.
We have cemeteries around here where they'll buy 4 plots, and like one person will be buried there, but the rest of the other plots, they have benches on there and all kinds of stuff. It's like a little bitty park within the cemetery, so you can go there, sit down, rest, visit your loved one, and I mean, it's a real nice quiet spot.
So I'm curious, like these people who they say they think it's Marilyn Monroe, is it just because they see an entity in a white dress? Or they had, come face to face in this cemetery where it looked like identical to her who she was when she was living?
I don't know. Some people have said, and I saw this in one of those some of those DVDs that I bought, that they saw somebody laying out by the pool, in the
There's a pool in
swimsuit.
the cemetery?
No, not the cemetery, but I'm talking about, I think, one of the hotels.
Okay.
Or it was a hotel. They said they saw her sitting out by the pool in one of the lawn chairs, but then she disappeared.
Oh, that's probably the Knickerbocker.
I think so.
Yeah, the Knickerbocker out there.
Not a hotel anymore.
No, but a lot of like gangsters and movie stars and people stayed there, and a lot of people claim to see apparitions of some of those people, and would see them out by the pool and stuff.
But when they were in the cemetery, I'm asking, there is specifically people saying that they had ran into her or they just saw somebody from afar and just assumed that it was her. Because I'm trying to figure out why, why this place is so haunted. If it's just, because I wonder if people are seeing multiple things, not just her. Why
I'll
is
have to
the
look up the
attraction?
stories again. I thought I was watching like haunted history one time, and I thought I thought they had a lot of stories about stuff that happened, but I don't remember what all happened.
So besides going to Alcatraz and that little cemetery on your short tidbit before we go into the Queen Mary, did you happen to stop into another hot spot that you guys tried to do investigating in, or is that your main three things was the cemetery, Alcatraz, and the Queen Mary? I mean, did you find
Like
any other
that.
place?
On any other places that I thought was haunted?
Yeah, did you guys stop into any other short
Well,
places?
they have a serial killer museum in the middle of downtown Los Angeles that you can
That's
take
not much
to
of a shocker,
I heard of
I
that
guess.
place.
Yeah.
That would be the place where they would have one.
I've
Probably.
heard
I
of
don't
that
know.
place.
But yeah, I don't know if it's haunted or not because he couldn't take any pictures. But yeah, I can't
That's
think of any
like
other
Madame
place.
Trudeau's wax museum. That's supposed to be haunted. That's another tourist attraction. Out in St. Augustine, Florida, they don't advertise it because the city is actually ashamed of it. But there is a murder museum out there, and they have the ambulance that Lee Harvey Oswald was transported to the hospital in. So they have things like that.
Cat, a
But
little frog stuck in your throat there. Your voice went a little high real quick. Would you? So
but
basically, you went to Alcatraz and the cemetery, and that was it, and then the Queen Mary. But as far as you going into anywhere else, you guys didn't go to any hotels that are supposedly haunted there on the trip. You didn't step into any restaurants, bars, saloons, whatever, anything that
Well,
you
not
went to
that I
check out
can.
for.
I can't think of anything right now.
But that was your main three stops.
was this
Yeah.
mainly a haunted vacation? Did you go on this trip specifically to go to these places?
It was one of the reasons why I took my vacation because I knew that.
Well, and to see
Yeah.
his brother, because his brother
Yeah.
lives out in California as well.
Yeah.
But
Unless the Hard Rock Cafe is haunted, but I don't know about that.
I don't think I would even go there. I heard you have to sometimes you wait 3 hours just to get
Oh.
in the door.
Hmm.
I don't know of any hamburger that's worth a 3 hour wait.
I'm
Um,
surprised that when you see, they claim that Alcatraz is so haunted and stuff, but it seems like a lot of people go and they just don't really get anything. I've never seen anybody have photos other than just orbs. I've
don't
seen
even
all
know
over
how
the
these-
internet. I've never really seen anything, so
I've never really seen any real evidence from Alcatraz, but I still don't doubt that the place is haunted.
Oh,
The
I'm
only
sure it
thing I
has
saw-
residual energy just from all the negativity that's in there.
Yeah.
They could have made poltergeists from that much
The only thing
negativity.
The only thing I saw from Alcatraz was taps, and I don't know what you think about taps, but that guy in the cape that ran towards the camera and ran
Oh
away.
yeah, and you could see his
I think
pants
that was
underneath.
Alcatraz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't even know how these people get in there to do that because they lock the place down at night and everybody.
They would have to have special permission from the Park Service because if I understand it, Alcatraz is under the care of the Park Service now.
Yeah.
So it just seems to me that that's what they would have to do. But yeah, I saw that too. I used to watch Taps quite a bit. I haven't watched it for years.
Grant was on my Facebook for a while. I don't know what happened to to their.
He must have
added me.
deleted them. But
I don't know. He was on my Facebook, so maybe he deleted his page or something.
I think when they first came out, they were interesting, but then you know how showbiz takes over, and it just
Right.
kind of ruins it. And that's why everybody started going up on their own. But and when I was kind of reading on Alcatraz, and I was dipping through everything, and you kind of look on everybody's images and stuff. I've never seen anything on the internet, so if somebody does have something, they're keeping it to themselves, because I have yet to see anything really show itself. I haven't ran into any EVPs from there, but it's probably because there's just so many people going in and out at one time. It's probably almost impossible to get.
That's what, that's what I was sitting here thinking. There's so many people that go in and out of there that it's just hard to get anything. Mainly what you get are stories of encounters, and most of those came from the tour guides.
Well, if I ever make $1 billion, I'll take you and everybody who's in our chat group right now. We'll go to Alcatraz and shut it down for 2 nights.
We'll hold you to that too, because if it happens, we're gonna.
Hey,
it's gonna happen.
If I have $1 billion, I'm definitely not keeping it to myself. I'd definitely share it with friends and acquaintances.
Okay.
And I already know who's in the chat, so.
Okay, I got a lottery ticket, so hopefully I cross my fingers that I win. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like it'd be an interesting place to see in general, and I'm sure that there's probably a lot of mixed energy in there just from the variety of inmates that have been there and how long they've been in there and how they were treated and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that, that there isn't things that happened there. I'm sure that there is things that had happened there over the years, even when the prison was still open. I just have a hard time because I haven't really seen any proof from there in photos or whatever. And your pictures are a good point to help people. At 1 minute you can take a photo it's completely blank. The next second you take it, it's just totally full of dust orbs, and then you take another one and it's just got one singular one. Now, like we said, we're not totally discrediting every photo that has an orb in there, because there is some energy orbs, but it's people have to realize it's not so much the energy orb that is the spirit, it's what's around it that the spirit's starting to manifest.
Absolutely.
It's pulling the energy from the atmosphere and from the surrounding to gather enough energy to try to manifest. And I think a lot of people focus too much on the orbs or dismiss them right away, without around it, but I mean, there is a lot of environmental things that come into play when you come with the digital cameras and stuff nowadays.
Right, and the place has to be dusty, but it surprises me that he didn't catch more orbs than he did, that there weren't more in these pictures. And I do think that it's very, very interesting that one picture is clear and clean, and then the next one is loaded with orbs, and then the next one has one orb.
One single one.
I do find that very, very interesting.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, he is on the ocean.
Right.
It's not a very well-sealed building.
Right.
All of a sudden I'm talking Boston. I don't know why. I don't even know anybody from Boston, but that's me, the person who has multiple accents. And, it's not very kept up. It's certainly not clean every single day. So, I mean, it is good. And then people are shuffling around. They're going to kick up dust and dirt and everything. But I think my favorite one is where, he has this perfectly circled round orb floating all by itself, It is, I'm not saying it is entity, but it is a pretty good picture,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well,
sure is.
We're going to take a quick intermission.
We're going to take a potty break.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick intermission for about almost 3 minutes. So for those of you who are over at our Ustream site, you can scroll down and find a URL to our channel if you want to join in chat and goof around with those who are in chat and join in the discussion. And we'll be back in about 3 minutes to finish our topic tonight on the Queen Mary. Welcome back to Anything But Ordinary. I'm Raven, and we have Laces and Spooky back with us.
Hello.
Hello. Good to
Glad
be
y'all
back.
came back. Okay. I'm going to give a short history of the Queen Mary. Now, I'm going to paraphrase this because I want to tell you, we could do an entire 2-hour show on the Queen Mary. This ship has such an interesting history, and we could just do a 2-hour show on it. The Queen Mary primarily sailed the North Atlantic from 1936 to 1967. It sailed for the White Star Line, which is the same company as the Titanic, later became Cunard White Star. The RMS Queen Mary, it was an English ship, it was replaced as a flagship in 1946 by the RMS Queen Elizabeth, but during World War II, she was converted to a troop ship and ferried Allied troops the duration of the war. This ship made over 1,000 ocean crossings just during World War II. After the war, she was converted back to a passenger liner, but was retired in 1967 due to aging and profit loss. So she was bought by the city of Long Beach, California. She was permanently moored in Long Beach. On May 8th, in 1971, the Queen Mary officially opened its doors to the public. It's now a tourist attraction with restaurants, hotels, souvenir shops,
Yep.
whatever.
Whatever.
But
Okay.
during the time, I'm getting a little tongue-tied. My foot hurts.
Her foot's attached to her mouth.
Yeah, my foot's attached to my mouth most of the time. They thought about closing it down because it was losing money. And that's what it all just comes down to, is money. But it was rumored to be haunted, and since the 1980s, the city of Long Beach capitalized on this and turned the Queen Mary into a moneymaker. 49 crew and passengers are known to have died on the Queen Mary. 75% of those were crew members. It's unknown how many servicemen and POWs died on her because the records are housed by the U.S. military, and they have not and will not release them.
That's interesting.
Interesting.
I thought that was very
What are
interesting.
they trying to hide?
I don't know. But
Oh, wow.
the thing of it is, though, actually, when the Queen Mary took troops back and forth across the ocean, it was still owned by Great Britain. So maybe, I don't know, maybe the U.S. military might have kept records on that too, because there were a lot of American troops ferried around on that ship.
Well, they must have some little tidbit in there that probably needs to, maybe like one sentence or one line that needs to be still kept secret because of military,
Well,
stuff.
World War II's been over for a long time. I can't see where it would be a matter of national security.
Well, they keep a
And-
lot of things, closed off where they shouldn't, They just
Well,
forget
that's
they
true.
work for us. So, but anyway, that's another story.
Yeah, but they just apparently they do have records on it, but the U.S. military just hasn't released them. And I found it kind of interesting that when they permanently moored her at Long Beach, and they put different specialty restaurants and stuff in there, and made the staterooms a hotel. It was just losing money, and they were actually thinking about selling it until somebody said, hey, this place is haunted. Sometime in the 1980s, and all of a sudden it turned around. It became a moneymaker after word got out that it was haunted. But there are a lot of people out there that just go around, to haunted places hoping to see a ghost
Well,
or a spirit, whatever you want to call them.
yeah. But didn't the paranormal, I mean, I don't know, I guess there was always groups and stuff even from the 50s and the 60s, but didn't it really start picking up where people started doing it more and more, not till like the 90s anyway, more openly, where everybody was kind of getting into it?
Well, when doing paranormal investigations and staying in haunted hotels and going to haunted places became the thing, I think it was in the late 90s, and it really started getting into the public then. I think that's I mean, it's not only the Queen Mary that turned around on this. A lot of places have turned around money wise. When people started advertising, hey, come here, we're haunted.
Right. Well, that's interesting about the tidbit. Now, Curtis, you guys, when did you go on vacation anyway? Did you say in June? So you were there in
Sometime in
June.
June.
End
I
of
don't remember the
June,
date.
probably.
It's sometime in June.
Okay. Just curious around the time because.
Did you spend the night in the Queen Mary?
Yeah,
Oh, you did? Huh.
yeah. We stayed for like a night, couple nights. Yeah,
Is it expensive to stay there?
not really. I mean, if you just purchase one of the more just a regular room, it's not that bad. I mean, if you get the Churchill suite, then it's gonna cost a
Oh,
fortune.
well, yeah. That's
Yeah,
first class.
whoever stayed in, because they got famous people who stayed on the ship.
Yeah.
So those rooms have or would cost more.
Oh, yeah. A lot of famous people when it was a passenger liner.
Yeah.
It was a passenger liner before World War II, and then again after World War II. A lot of famous people sailed on her. A lot of people stayed there. I think famous people stayed there after she was even moored at Long Beach.
I
So,
think so.
when you were staying in the Queen Mary, when you were spending the night or whatever, when you were sleeping in the room, did you have any experiences? Did you hear anything while sleeping there?
I didn't hear anything while I slept, but I do know that the room that we stayed in was mentioned in that book that I got.
Oh, why don't you
Uh,
go ahead and say what the book is since you're going to be talking a little bit about
it's
it?
about
Well, what's the title and who wrote it?
I think it's called Ghosts of Queen Mary. Um, I forget the name of the guy who wrote it because he has some type of weird last name.
Well,
Uh,
we'll have it on our website on our book link thing so people can go and click on it and be directed to Amazon if they want to look at it or purchase it. But go ahead.
yeah, the book that was all about who died on the Queen Mary and who what ghosts people have seen and what paranormal experiences have.
Yeah, it's kind of like an encyclopedia of all the things that
Yeah,
people have experienced with photos. But it mentioned the room that you had stayed in. Now, what did it say people experienced in that room that you stayed in?
it just said that this lady and I guess her dad or whatever stayed in the room, and she said she couldn't sleep all night because the drawers kept opening up by themselves. She thought it was him, but it wasn't. Just making a bunch of noise like all night.
Right. And now, so you had went and gone on a couple of the ghost tours and stuff. Why don't you kind of tell our viewers and our listeners the experiences that you went through, and then we'll start sharing some of the photos from there, you know?
Um, yeah, when you go to the Queen Mary, you could actually pay to go on a ghost tour. We got to do the night ghost tour, which was even better. And they take you to some of the haunted places on the ship. And well, he was actually using dowsing rods on the tour guide, so not much happened on the tour. But he said some things will happen in a large group of people. Like he said, he took us to the forecastle deck. I guess that's what it's called. There's no lights down there, and you pretty much need a flashlight.
Mm-hmm.
But he said that it was where they stored all the POWs, and they forgot about them. people were like malnourished and they were just down there. But
Dehydrated and nauseous.
he took a tour group down there a few days before we were there, and he said somebody yelled something out that sounded like, "Well, good luck with that," and the door shut by itself and locked. So
So
he had to
locked you
get
guys in.
Wow.
yeah, he had to call up and get somebody to come down and unlock the door because that shouldn't have happened. He said there's no way it could have locked unless somebody. I think he was saying somebody had the key or
Yeah.
somebody was on the inside where they were at.
Mm. That'd be kind of
Um,
scary.
but yeah, he said no one goes down there unless you were on the ghost tour. So pretty much the crew stays out of that area. Um, um,
Now,
and
when you were in there and he was using the dowsing rods and whatnot, and he was asking questions or whatever, did anything happen or any strange things happen then?
well, he was asking questions and stuff, but I forget what he asked. Uh, I think he just said, "Do you like?"
Go ahead.
I think he asked if there was anybody in this room you don't like. It pointed directly at me. It was something like that. He
Sorry.
asked some question and it pointed directly at me. Out of all the people that were standing in that room.
Oh, I thought you said maybe it might have said, I might be mixing up, but I thought when we were just chatting that you said that
Uh,
you asked if there was anybody in the room that wanted to make contact with, or because he
Something
might
like
have
that.
said a
That might have
couple of,
been what
you
he
said he
asked.
said a couple of things and you said that it pointed at you, so,
I
which
can't
would
remember. I
make
think that's.
sense because of the next photos coming up of what you got. I was shocked. Now the photos that we're gonna share, are they all taken at the same day, or were they different
Yeah.
days that you went wandering around?
Yeah, the ghost tour, some places on the ship you can't actually get into because unless you go on the tour. So, um, some of these places I took pictures of on the tour.
See, the cool thing I found out when he was chatting is that he actually got to go down in the engine room by himself because nobody
Yeah.
wanted to go down there. You know how many people would pay like millions of dollars just to even give off their left arm just to be able to go down in the engine room all by themselves and, have their digital recorder on their camera. I was just shocked that you were that lucky to have that experience. I mean,
Well,
nobody
I
gets
didn't know
that.
I was going to be down there by myself. I mean, I went in there and I was expecting there to be like a large group of people, but I had my recorder and I was walking around in there, and eventually I was the only one in there. And I was wondering, am I supposed to be in here alone or something? And I went
Per-
down on the.
Personally, I think you were lucky because I think the pictures that we're going to show are just amazing. And I think that you were lucky and very fortunate. There may have been a reason why the
I think it
dowsing
was
rods. I didn't
pointed
mean
to
to
him.
laugh. I just thought that little comment was funny, and then they pointed at you. But um, I think you were meant to see what you saw.
Yeah, I think he was meant to have the experience on the ship that he had, actually, because the things that he had told us a little bit, which he's going to tell on the show here, and the fact that you got to go down in the engine room alone. I mean, that never
Yeah.
happens with anybody. There's people who go on these tours who live in California, and they're constantly paying money to go there and keep going down, and, they'll try to be the last one in line and stuff, and,
Oh
they,
my gosh. You know what I just noticed? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. See down at the bottom of the picture where it's lit up, there's a face there. Right at the bottom of the picture.
where the little name is, Laces Out.
It's under his name. It's all the way to the bottom of the picture where it
Well,
says Laces Out
yep, and then
at the
go to the
bottom.
right of that.
And go to the right. There's a face there.
I don't know. It's hard to see on this one. Like we said, we're going to have all these photos up in the, well, you guys can blow it up bigger. I can't. I have a little
Yeah.
screen on my Ustream producer part. But this was one of the photos he just kind of showed. He said, I'm not really sure if there's anything in it, but it was kind of interesting that there was a blue orb when he was roaming through the engine shaft alley in the engine room by himself. And so we threw that one up. But so you were down here and you were recording and you were walking alone and you were kind of
Yeah.
getting, did you have like strange feelings? Did you feel creeped out? Did you feel relaxed? I mean, how
Um,
were you feeling?
But when I was down there alone, I had my digital recorder. I didn't actually have a camera, but I just felt like, well, I just felt like, um, I just wasn't sure if I was supposed to be down there or
Oh,
not. But
kind of like the group left and you forgot to go with.
yeah, because I didn't see anybody, but there were no signs, and I eventually found out it was okay. But I mean, if you're not allowed to go somewhere on the ship, they actually have it blocked off, and
Kind of like
you
a
know,
little a sign
yeah,
up or a yellow tag or something, probably saying don't cross here or whatever.
yeah. But when I went down to the bottom level, and this is before I knew about Door 13,
Mm-hmm.
my tape recorder tried to cut itself off when
You
I
mean like the
played the
batteries were acting up or
yeah when I played the audio back, and it only did that near Door 13.
what kind of sound did you get? Like, was it like a static sound or did
It
it
just
just went blank? Or, I mean,
it
how
just
do you,
acted like it was gonna cut out.
it was just making some erratic sounds? Or, I mean, when you say cut out, could you kind of give a
It
description
was
to explain to
fading
the
out.
listener? Okay, so it was like you could hear yourself asking stuff and then all of a sudden you heard your voice kind of going strange.
Yeah,
And it was over by door 13. Now, at the time, you said you didn't know anything about door
yeah,
13 when you were down there in the engine room all by yourself, which I
yeah.
still am like in awe of that you got to do that.
I had to look that up in a book when I got back because I knew that it was somewhere in that area, but I didn't know where because they have several watertight doors down there. But if you don't know about it, you probably wouldn't know what to look for.
Right now, the picture we're showing now is you said you were standing perfectly still, and it's like it's only like in this one section right under where your name is where it was blurry, but the rest of the photo was completely not blurry.
There are a few distortions in this picture, but
I mean, we don't.
in this photo, but
It's strange. We're not saying that
it's yeah, it's
what it is
interesting
or isn't.
that yeah, it's interesting that
He
I
was
mean,
getting the EVP issues,
yeah,
and then starting to have camera weirdness. So it's almost like something was hanging around. But I mean, I don't like I said, it's hard to say in this photo, but it's definitely kind of interesting how just right there in that one little part of the section, it's blurry, but the rest of
right.
it's fine. So I mean, so we're just showing that this is kind of an oddity that's leading up as he's continually going down to door 13. So I'm still now. You said when you were walking down there, you had happened to see something else,
Yeah,
right?
I was walking around down there for like 20 minutes. Never saw anybody, but when I came back up to the top level, I saw somebody in like a jumpsuit. It had to be yellowish, but he disappeared around the corner, so I went over there. So I was thinking, oh, good, I'm not down here alone.
So
I went over there
just
to maybe
see.
take my recorder, but
Mm-hmm.
the floor started making all bunch of noise and stuff. So I think it was like the generator or whatever that was.
Yeah.
See, the thing is if you're walking down here, you think you would hear the man's footsteps because you're walking on metal, you know,
Right.
grates. So and the fact that you said that he had a really faded yellow,
Yeah,
not a jumpsuit, but what did they call them back then?
Coveralls.
Coveralls.
at least that's what I thought I saw. I mean, it could have just been me.
Well, jumpsuit is
Well,
kind of the term of what coveralls
everybody that was
nowadays
in a different department back then
had different
had
colors.
different colors coveralls.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, being in yellow or orange or something, it depending if they were engineers, they had one color. If they were electricians, they had another color.
Or if they were the
You know,
fire
he could have been, fire. Um,
It's just to help people know where recognize who the person is, what part they're supposed
right.
to be in.
So it evidently was one of the crew.
It's interesting though that you said it was a really faded light yellow.
That's
It
what I
was almost
saw.
see-through. So that was interesting.
I
Was
wasn't
it in
sure.
this? Was it in this same section where this photo was? That you took this photo as you were walking down? Were you near?
It was up.
Up
There's
one
another
level.
level. Yeah, there's like a top level, then there's a bottom level.
Mm-hmm.
The bottom level is where the door 13 is at the back.
Now, when you're going through these levels, is it kind of like open so you can kind of look up at the other railings, or is it all just
It's
blocked off?
well, I it's like there's like so much in the way, like pipes and stuff, and
But there is some opening. So, I mean, if
yeah,
you're standing on one railing at a different level, if you look up a certain way, if there isn't too much in the way, you could probably see up to the other railing, the level up or level down.
you, yeah, you could.
Okay, I'm just trying to get a visual beyond the other side of the
Yeah.
pictures that we can't quite see. And so you kept continuing down this way by yourself, headed into door 13. Now, door 13 is where John Petter, the 18-year-old from, was it Skipton, Yorkshire, England, and he was on the boat in the 1966. Now, he was the man that was crushed by that door. He was a fireman in the engine room on voyage 483, and he was crushed to death by that door 13 between the, that little wall thing right there and the door on July
Yeah.
10th in 1966, approximately.
Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I got cut off.
Okay,
Yeah,
we're back.
we sure
We're
did.
still streaming. Sorry about that. I'll just read the little tidbit again. It must be the storm thing kicking in a little bit. Sorry about that, guys. Are we back on the stream site, you guys?
We got door 13 up.
Okay. Now, I'll just say this again for those people who kind of missed it. Now, they say that actually, this is rumored, I'm not sure, but door 13 crushed at least 2 men to death, but it was during a routine watertight door drill in 1966 that John
Yeah.
Petter, an 18-year-old from Skipton, Yorkshire, England, he was a fireman in the engine room on voyage 483. He was crushed to death in that watertight door in door 13 on July 10th of 1966, approximately about 3:45 a.m. Now, John Petter was dressed in blue coveralls, and they say that there's a lot of people who have spied him walking up and down the length of the shaft alley before disappearing by door 13. Now, you sent me this photo. You're like, I haven't really looked at this stuff. And when you sent me this, I was just like, my mouth dropped because there is a man in the middle down the hallway here. I don't know how big it is. If you guys in chat, if you go click on Ustream to kind of blow up the video part to go look, you'll see him that he's squatting down on his feet, holding a clipboard and a pen, and he's checking the engine. Now I'm gonna click where the next picture over where I kind of cropped and zoomed in a little bit. And Richard and Penny, you just type in Skype and let me know if.
I don't see it up yet.
Well, I just clicked it. It's gonna take a couple seconds here. But I can't move my mouse around it. But
There it is. That is for everybody listening and watching, that is a full body
apparition right near door 13. Now he's down here by himself. Now he just said that when he got
Maybe,
there, that his.
when I took pictures, I wasn't actually down there by myself.
But like, but like you said, well, somebody else might have been wandering. But
when you sent us this picture,
right. Well,
So,
sent me, and then I showed her.
I could not believe this. And I was telling her that at first, we kind of saw the head, and I got to looking at this, and this guy is bent down.
I told you, actually. I told you right away because you were looking at
He's
somebody
got
in
a
the back.
clipboard in his hand,
She's
and-
stealing credit.
So bad.
and
It's so bad.
Mm-hmm.
it's a full body apparition.
Right. Well, I actually saw it before I showed it to Spooky, but I saw it right away, told Laces, and then I said, OMG, I gotta get Spooky and show her this. But I actually highlighted it and then outlined it for those who are having a hard time seeing it on the Ustream player. But we're gonna have these photos up in Spooky's Corner group later on, and then you guys can click on him and really zoom in and see the detail of this man that you can. And the funny thing is if you look at his face or his head direction when you do guys get to go in and look a little bit later on the group when you can blow it up bigger, he's looking down at the clipboard, and then he's kind of looking up at Laces at the same time. So it's kind of like, what are you doing here? Kind of look, because he's down there, like he's checking routine, making sure everything's okay, and then looking up a little bit. and I was just like, when I first saw this, I was just blown away, and I was like, I totally have to show Spooky. But there is something else behind this man way further back in the engine thing. It almost looks like this is one that Spooky pointed out, because I didn't really look at that one. I was too busy looking at the other guy. She pointed out that there's somebody standing in the far back end. Do you remember that, Spooky, right there by the cog? It's a little bit hard to see because of his name's on it, but when you guys go to group, you can blow it up and see it a little better. Now, I also altered the picture hue to see if it'll help stand out for people more.
Wait, is this the blow up?
It's a purple one now. Spooky, your volume got down a little low, they said. It should get better now, I think, guys.
Yeah, we've been having a little bit of problems.
Well, you guys, low storm coming in, but I think it came back up. But this is the one where I altered the hue, so hopefully it can come in a little bit more. But Spooky, you had mentioned that you saw another entity in the back.
Yeah, there is an entity at the very back, and I can't really make out what he's doing. I can just see him there. Is this the one? I can't tell on this one.
Because you're colorblind, but this is, I think, because you said the purple part. This is the one I changed it to help it stand out a little bit more for people, so it's not all shadowy or whatever. But you can clearly see a person. I mean, I saw it on the very first shot before we zoomed in and cropped it and did all that stuff. I was just in awe. Now, you said that you were standing by door 13 trying to do a digital recording. You said that's when it started to mess up and your voice would fade a little bit on it. Now,
yeah, this is the part. This was before. This is the time when we were doing like an EVP session down there for like 30 or 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I was with, I was with Quote down there. We were asking questions and stuff, but I listened to that recording and I never really got anything when we were down there doing the EVP session.
I thought that you had said that you heard whistling.
When you were down there and took this photo, you didn't see anything there, right?
No.
As far as you knew, you're just taking a photo of this corridor.
Yeah.
Well, here's the far shot. In the original photo is this, and then he just kind of peeked in, took a picture. And this is before you didn't even know anything about this section. Did you feel drawn to take a picture? Did you just say, oh, I should take a picture here? Because that's really weird that you didn't know anything about door 13, and all of a sudden you decided, I'm going to just take a picture here. And then you catch this full body apparition.
I just snapped a bunch of photos, and while I was down there doing the EVP session, and
right, and
I
then
caught that blue orb.
Right.
And actually, this is the photo of the fingerprints at door 13. And if you look down, he's in this one.
Oh, on the left, yep, right over there. There's somebody hanging. Yeah, this is the one you spotted. You said if you look over, I don't even know what that engine part is. You said somebody was actually kind of leaning over that.
They were leaning over it, yeah.
It's on the left side.
It was, I don't know, a piece of machinery or something. They were leaning over it. You could see where they were leaning, had their hands, draped over it. It was like he was standing there talking to somebody or watching this guy work.
Yeah, I didn't even catch that one.
He's kind of down at the end.
Right, I didn't catch that one at first when I was looking at that because, I was looking at the handprint telling you, but he had said that you saw this picture and you said that this markings are kind of embedded in the metal. We're not saying that it's that guy's handprints, but it's weird that there's grease marks or these things are just embedded into the metal. It's not just painted on or wiped on.
Right.
Yeah. They said sometimes when you're walking around down there and you come back out, your clothes will be stained with grease.
Well, is there any way that you can bump into machinery?
No.
Oh.
No, that's what they were talking about. There's nothing down there that would cause that to happen because there's no grease left down there.
It looks pretty clean down there. But this guy that stooped down, this apparition, he looks like he's maybe checking gauges or something.
Yeah,
I mean, he's definitely working. I mean, with a clipboard in his hand. You can see the clipboard in his hand.
Oh, it's me. I mean, well,
and he stooped down, like whatever he's looking at, he had to stoop down and see it, and sometimes the gauges were down kind of low where you had to bend down or stoop down to read them.
He could be just checking piping to make sure there's something leaking, or,
Yeah, I mean,
steaming.
really no telling what he's doing. Whatever he's doing, it's something that he has to record.
And it's so interesting because he that's a typical way of, sitting. That's how I, sit down and whatever. And I know that's because I learned it from my dad, who was in the military. They used to always sit on their feet, and squat down like that
Right.
when they're doing their works and stuff. But I was just, when I
But
first.
this guy is resting on his toes, though. If you really take a
Oh,
look
yep.
at him, his feet are up by his butt.
Well, he's got the.
But
I'm sure he's
he's
got the boots on. You know what I mean? They
well,
wear
yeah.
boots, so.
But he's more or less balanced on his toes.
Right.
But I mean, you can see his feet, you can see his knees, his arms, his
resting
head,
on his both
I mean, you
arms,
can see this man's his butt, his entire body.
His two arms, the clipboard, and the pen. And like I said, for everybody in chat and people who are listening, you can go into the Spookies Corner on Facebook. It's on our website. You can click on to go in and join or whatever, and we'll have Lace's photos up where you can click on them and zoom in and really see this. I mean, when I saw it from afar, I saw him right away. I was just shocked, and I was just like, how does?
I mean, he just jumped out at you. I mean, there was no way.
There
was no way to not see this thing.
Oh, I know, he's straight up there. But I mean, how lucky! This is just amazing in general. He gets to go down there by himself for 20 minutes, and then he gets an entity at the same time.
A full body.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, full body apparitions.
People go here like millions of times,
are really rare,
hoping for something, and you're just like a little light beacon.
Yeah.
He's a little light beacon for, paranormal, like a few of the rest of us in this group. I mean, there's some people in chat that are like light beacons too. They got some amazing stories, blow you out of the water, but as well.
I just figured I should take that opportunity because I don't know if and when I'll ever get to come back to this ship again. So I just wanted to
totally jumped. I mean, the fact that you get to go down there by yourself, I would be like, who cares? I'm going. If I get killed, who cares? It's worth it. I mean,
see, that's what I do anyway. On these, and you found out, Laces. You kind of wander off by yourself. You get more. You see more. You get more. And you don't have anybody around you that's distracting you. I just think that is such an amazing catch.
Did I send the picture of that where I shot the photo and it's like all warped in the middle, but it's fine around it?
Yep, we showed that one after the blue orb one.
Oh,
and that's when I asked you if that was the same spot where because you had told me you heard whistling.
Spot.
You heard
no,
whistling.
That was upstairs. That was with my dad and brother.
Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to
day.
that part. A little part.
I agree with Richard. This is probably one of the best catches I have seen.
I saw that other people have gotten the same picture too, that warped, but it's fine.
The warped part? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I said it's like a slight distortion in the middle. And that was when you were saying that you were kind of hearing little things. Didn't you say you also heard like a bell or alarm, like a fire alarm bell?
Yeah. When I was walking around, when I was walking around down there with my tape recorder with my dad and brother, there is a recording that plays like every 20 minutes. I guess he was like the captain of the ship, so it plays over and over. And that's on the recording. But when I listened to the tape, that recording didn't play. It was just the bell. It's like a school bell. So I don't know if I need to dismiss that or if that's actually an EVP.
You should just try to, if you ever can get it uploaded, you should try to share it with our group anyway and just let people listen and kind of give their input. And, well, like you said, when you were looking at these handprints, like you said, it seemed like they were just, what did you say, melted into the metal? I mean, what did you say?
Embedded.
No, I know. I want to hear what because just let our viewers listen.
It's more like it was some type of, it was like ingrained into the paint or the metal. And I just took a picture of it. I don't know if it was actually his or not, but I just decided to do it anyway. Take a photo of that.
I'm just amazed just by the Door 13, the fact that you didn't even know what it was. You started having recording issues, and then all of a sudden you catch that shot. That's amazing. Now we're going to go, when you were upstairs with your dad and your brother, and your dad took this next photo. right?
The one of the mirror.
Yeah. Now, what is this room that anyway? Why, do you know what this
Um,
room was? Was it a waiting room? What was it?
Forgot what it was. It's like it's like a reception area. I don't remember what part of the ship it was on, but I know you couldn't get in there unless you, uh,
We're on the tour.
yeah, um, or some special occasion. But they were saying on the ghost tour that back in like 1989, they were getting ready for something in that room,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a lady in there in a white dress that they thought was looking out the window, one of the portholes. So the maid, they were trying to talk to her, and she wouldn't respond, and they were trying to talk to her. Well, so they thought, okay, we'll just get the manager. The manager came down there, tried to talk to her, and she didn't respond. And didn't respond, but they all three of them saw this lady, but then she disappeared. So they said that's the longest recorded sighting of a ghost yet on the Queen Mary. That lady,
That's
uh,
interesting.
yeah.
Now, when your dad took this photo, can you kind of explain a little bit and then tell us what we're looking at? Besides the little orb on the right, but, kind of explain it to our listeners how you explained it to Spooky and I.
It's the mirror, right?
Right.
Okay. Um, yeah, after the tour was ready to move on, then my dad would take pictures. Because you could see the little girl in the background. I'm not sure which picture you were looking at,
The
but
one with the girl and the guy
okay.
in the mirror, and then your
Uh,
dad's taking the picture.
yeah, he shot this photo, but I didn't really look at it until the tour was over and we got back to our room. And I clicked through the pictures and I saw that, and I was like, wow, you need to look at this. Because I know nobody was on the tour.
Dressed in blue coveralls.
Yeah, yeah. And
People,
he took,
I don't want to interrupt you, but people are asking if this is a glass, and what it is, people,
It's a
it's a
mirror.
mirror.
Now, his dad stepped to the right to make sure that he wouldn't be in the photo at all. And it was basically his dad standing in this room by himself. And he stepped over to the right because he didn't want his reflection in the picture. He didn't want to contaminate. He wanted to take a photo. And he captured this person who was in blue coveralls. And if you look at this person, and I'm going to click on that zoomed cropped up picture, in Facebook, our group, you'll be able to zoom in. First photo so I can say it first before I go to the crop one. He's basically standing just right in front of this first chair would be, a little bit to the right of it. So he would have been in Lace's dad's visual view of seeing him. He would have been in the shot, and he'd have been like right next to your dad, just a little bit in, because if you look into the mirror when you zoom in, while I'll hit the next picture up, you can kind of see that he's right near the first chair, just a little bit in front of it. Now, your dad would have saw him and have been like, okay, excuse me, but when you look at this guy's was this one where your dad snapped his first snap, and there's this man standing just just a little bit right in front of that first chair there on the left, and in a blue coveralls, and then the seconds later he snapped this photo, and the guy's gone. And actually, your dad your dad's still staying out of the photo not to be captured in it, you know? So it's kind of like this guy was standing there in the room just a little bit in front of your dad where the flash is on him. He's looking, you know, straight in the mirror, like at a relaxed military stance in blue coveralls. Well, they say that John Petter, the dude, I'm not saying that's who that man is, but it's kind of a weird coincidence that you get somebody down in the engine room and then you guys get another person dressed in blue coveralls up standing in, you know, just a little bit in front of where your dad is taking the photo, and there's nobody dressed like that on the whole tour, you said.
Yeah. And they said that sometimes you'll hear him whistling. I think I mentioned that before. Um, I did catch that on audio because we were up there taking pictures in that area. You know, through door 13, there's an escalator right in front of that door that goes up like an exhibit. And around the corner, we were taking pictures. I remember where it was. Uh, and when I listened back to the audio, you could hear somebody whistling. And I know there was nobody else around at the time for that to happen.
Right. Now, I found a picture of John Petter, the guy that was crushed in the door, that was dressed in the blue coveralls. And like we said, we'll have these photos in groups so you guys can click on them, zoom in, and kind of look at it. And it was kind of interesting because when me and Laces were looking at this, we noticed that the guy's face had a similar shape and the shoulder stands and everything. So we
Yeah.
thought that's really strange. And the fact is like there's gonna be people out there who are being like, it's just a regular person. But you
Yeah.
guys were there. You know who was on the tour. Your
Yeah.
dad was in the room. There was nobody in the room with him. And when you look at the photos, this man is standing in the room, just a little bit left of that first chair, and he has his arm illuminated by the flash of your dad's camera. Now, your dad purposely stepped over to the right to make sure that the room wouldn't be contaminated with his image, that he could
Yeah.
take a blank picture of it.
Some people in chat lost sound for a few seconds, so just to repeat, the man in the mirror is the apparition. The girl in the background is real. She was on the tour.
Right, and did they hear about John Petter, the picture we just talked about?
Yeah, it was when we were talking. It's when you were talking about the man. The man would have been in the room, and SJ made a good point. She said the chairs make it clear you should be able to see his full body from the back looking at the mirror if he was a real person.
Yeah.
He's not. The fact is, when you guys go to Groupie and you go and look at and click on the picture and you zoom in, he should be standing. Okay, if you follow the Lacesout name, go a little bit to the left. He should just be standing just a little bit back of that word, and
Right.
he'd be standing in his dad's view, in blue coveralls, and his arm is lit up. You know, so there's gonna be people who are gonna be like, oh, this, you know, it's just a person, but it's like, and there's, you know. But if you really analyze the picture you look at, you guys were there. You know this person wasn't in the room. Your dad took this section, a quick picture of it, and then the next picture he took, the guy's completely gone. Now, he was standing there. If he was going to run out of the room that quick in 1 second, he would have had to have annoyed your dad, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And if you show the other picture again that was taken right after this, the man is gone.
Yeah. That's what my dad did. He took like several pictures at once to see that if anything showed up. That way we would know if it's any.
see the flash.
Okay, do we have sound back now? Because I just
I
saw
don't know. They're saying that it's cutting out.
it was a quick. It was. I think it's because I switched to the picture right quick. It might have glitched it a second, but we should have sound back now. Because you guys asked me to click back to that one picture right quick.
You
And I
know,
think it might
SJ
have
says
glitched
hers
it.
is working again.
Okay, sorry about that, guys.
Penny says refresh. Still no sound. Corey says there it is. Penny's back.
Well,
Richard has his.
okay, we clicked through the pictures right quick. I might have clicked the sound. I might have muted it on accident, because I have such a little thing to, and I have like 18 pictures to go through, and so it made the thing a little bit smaller. So I might have accidentally hit mute for a second. So thank you for mentioning it. But say again what you had said, Spooky, for our listeners. And we've been gone for like over a month because
Yeah.
of health issues.
Oh,
and
what
stuff, so
that's
we're just
true.
trying to get back into the swing
Yeah.
of things. So we apologize.
Well, what I said was that you can clearly see the flash, and you can clearly see the flash illuminating his arm. And
he had to have been in the shot. His dad had to have seen him, especially
Yeah.
since where he was standing in the full picture.
Yeah,
where the
because
chair is.
Lace's dad moved away because he did not want to be in the picture. He wanted to take a picture of this mirror. And when they looked, they found this man standing there. And it's very clear that this man should have been in the room.
And in the shot as well as in the mirror.
Yeah. And the woman in the background is real. She is part of the tour. She just happens to be walking by
at the same time
this photo was taken. And this photo, or this apparition, is solid enough, it kind of obscures the part of her face.
Right.
It does obscure her a little bit. But I mean, it's very clear that this man was in this room, but you don't see him in the picture. You don't see him in the room. You just see him in the mirror.
Yeah, and then the way that his arm is lit up, that also proves
that he was in the room, because
he had to get
the flash illuminated.
Arm.
The flash illuminated his arm.
And the fact that if you guys look up back in the day, even to this day, back in the 60s and 50s, that they wore dark blue coveralls that went over their uniforms, that they didn't get full gunked up in engine room grease,
Right.
So, and they would zip it down or button it down there to breathe, because that was very heavy material and you'd sweat. Now they would wear the regular Navy pants that they're supposed to wear underneath, pull over their coveralls, and they'd have their t-shirts back then when they're working. So I just found it strange that this man was in blue coveralls, and just how the photo doesn't add up. This man should be in the shot.
You can even see how the flash is the room, not the mirror now, but the chairs. You can even see where the flash is illuminating on the walls and the chairs.
Right, each spot where it's hitting. He would line up with those sections. Why would he, if this man wasn't in front of Lace's dad and was out of the room, why is his arm lit up?
True, and also, and it's like SJ said a while ago, if the man was in the room, we would see a picture of his backside, standing there looking in the mirror.
That's good.
Yeah, I just had a name run through my head, but I'm keeping it to myself because your brother would be super mad about it. But if you look also with, I'm just going to show John Petter's face again with him.
I tried to superimpose that, but it's hard to tell. It sort of fits, but it's hard to tell.
Yeah, it's
interesting.
To
superimpose it.
But when like I said, we're going to have this in our Spooky's Corner on our Facebook group. And for those of you who aren't in the group and are listening, you can go to our website and click on the Facebook link and ask to join or whatever. We only keep these type of photos in private in our private group or whatever. We don't blast it all over the place. But it's interesting that his shoulders are similar shape to this man in the photo. And I'm not saying that it is him, but it's quite interesting that his facial jaw and features match this man in the mirror as well. But the fact that you get somebody in blue coveralls in this photo, it's kind of weird and doesn't add up. And then you're down at door 13 with that amazing shot where that 18-year-old was crushed to death. And then you got some strange EVPs.
I think it's just absolutely amazing that you got 2 full body apparitions.
Well, his dad got one. He got the
Well,
other.
technically his dad, but you guys got 2 full body apparitions. That
Actually, there was another photo that I didn't send because I thought maybe it would be too hard to see. But in the mirror, in the same area, there was another photo that was taken. It looks like a woman in a fur coat, but I
Oh,
didn't
well,
send it because I thought
maybe
it
you can
was.
share that. I mean, maybe you can send it. I'll watermark it for you, and then we can put it in group, and then people
I
can
mean,
give their 2 cents on what they think of it as well.
at least to
Who was
me,
wearing a fur coat in June?
I don't know, but that's what it is. And at least in my opinion, when I look at the one picture,
That's crazy.
it was hard to see, so I didn't really send it. I mean, it might be hard to see for everyone else.
it looks like a woman wearing a fur coat.
Yeah, one of the pictures we took in
You
that
didn't
same
send it to
area,
us, yeah.
I'd like to see that picture.
it was
Me
like
too. I
somebody
think you
from the
should share it with group. Yeah.
1920s or 1930s.
Yeah, back in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, it didn't matter where women were. If they had a fur coat, they wore it. I
Yeah,
don't
but
care if they were in
nowadays
the
they
middle of
don't
the
do that.
desert. But the thing of it is, you
Who goes
don't
on
know.
Who goes on a goose? Here I go again.
Goose. A
Who
goose.
goes on a goat
It was a
tour
goose.
You got to stop and
with a
think.
fur coat
Okay,
nowadays? Nobody would.
well, no, not
Not in
nowadays.
June. Hot.
But you got to stop and think. This ship was out on the ocean. It was cold out there. It was windy out there.
No, but I meant it kind of, I'm stating for the photo, there wouldn't be anybody on the ghost tour that would be wearing a full
Yeah.
fur
Oh, okay.
coat. Do you see
Well,
what I'm
that's
saying
true.
now?
No,
So that would
Jesus.
make the photo kind of sketchy, and I would question it too. So yeah, you should definitely share it in Spooky's Corner and let other people kind of look at it, and they can say meh, yes or no or whatever. But I think you were a very lucky man to be able to go down to door 13 and capture this photo and to be down there for 20 minutes. Then you've seen some dude walking by who just don't even know where he went. He went to a section where people aren't even supposed to go. He's wearing coveralls there too. You get EVPs.
SJ made a good point. She said he looks like he's looking at the camera because his head is turned toward that direction.
Which one?
The guy in the mirror.
Oh,
the
yeah.
guy in the mirror.
Oh, I've already moved past that photo onto the next one because we're almost running out of time. So I wanted to give people another shot of down by door 13. But yeah, I just think it's amazing, and I'm grateful and thankful that you popped on to share these photos with us in the show tonight. That was
thank
awesome.
you so much for sharing these photos.
Oh, no problem.
These amazing photos.
Right, and we're going to have them up in our Spooky's Corners group. And for those of you who want to go and check it out and get really zoom in and close up and then, go ahead and comment there and let us know and let him know what you guys think.
I told you about the whistling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got it on the EVP, so hopefully you can get some of those EVPs up and loaded on your computer.
Yeah,
and send it to us as well.
I'm hoping you do get those loaded on your computer because I would love to hear them.
Right.
It may have been nothing, but when the upstairs above the engine room, I was walking around the exhibit and I heard that too. But that's before I knew about that people would hear that, though. I heard whistling, and it's on an audio tape too. When I was doing that.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and
Right.
sharing some of your stuff. I know we kind of rushed you a little bit because we only have 2 hours, and I'm sorry for the little bit of sound issue, guys. We had like so many pictures, and but we did fix it. Like we said, we've been gone for like a month and a half because of health issues, everything else. But we're back. By the next show, we're gonna have everything back in swing of everything.
Well,
go ahead and tell them what next week is, Spooky.
Laces, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your amazing photos with us. And I hope that we have you on again soon.
I hope so too.
I want to thank all of our mods, Richard, Penny, who always do a great job for us. Join us August 12th. We will be discussing UFOs and aliens and strange otherworldly encounters throughout history. Are aliens and extraterrestrials real? Are they walking among us? What do you believe? Tune in next Tuesday when we share our thoughts on these topics. Thank you for coming, and I hope everyone has a great week.
And share us on Facebook.
Talk about us.
Do it now.
Do it now.
Or face the consequences.
That's right. We'll send Laces to your house.
All right.
All right. Good night,
Good night, everybody.